Thank you. Oh. Thank you. Oh.
Welcome to the third Amazing Race 30 recap episode of URT Number, the Amazing Race podcast from Reality TV Warriors. My name is Michael Harmstone, and joining me, as always, is the Canadian who never rushes, Logan Saunders.
Good afternoon.
The lady who never goes anywhere without her bag, Michelle Pearce-Donovan.
Yeah?
And the Australian whose puns always fall flat, Ben Powell.
Sup, skanks?
Sapping in my brethren. And we're back for podcast number 218, I want to say?
What a milestone.
Yeah, what a milestone. We are celebrating the classic number 218, guys.
Sounds more like an area code.
218, what is that, leather?
Hashtag 218.
Moroccan orange skin?
I'm not even sure how we would celebrate our 218th anniversary here, but we're doing it anyway. With another pretty good episode of Amazing Race, far better than expected. Again.
Why is it better than expected?
It probably benefited from the last episode ending the way it did.
Yeah, I have such low expectations because the cast is really not that good on paper, but actually, with the exception of last week, which was an absolute cluster, it's not been as bad as it could have been.
I think our expectations overall are a bit too low for The Amazing Race, because out of all the CBS shows, it's been the one show that's actually managed to retain its quality throughout. Big Brother has always been a shithole, and Survivor is, going downhill fast. But The Amazing Race is, sort of a show that, really quickly and effectively managed to rejuvenate itself.
Yeah, I think my expectations are low purely because of Amazing Race 29 being that good, and the knowledge that actually it's very unlikely that they're ever going to be able to achieve that again.
I mean, I wouldn't put past them to that again, because it's 2017 and CBS managed to produce an amazing series of reality television. Did anyone expect that? Circa 2011?
I don't think anyone expected that after season 25. The expectations for 25 were so low because 24 was so bad, whereas the expectations for 30 are so low because 29 was so good.
Yeah, I'd say that I'd probably say we expect most good seasons to be a fluke, but then we get consistently good seasons, and even the bad seasons after 24 have been there's good parts in it. So
I'd say that there's no really awful characters in this series left.
There's characters that make me roll my eyes.
Yeah, there's characters who elicit eye rolls, but there's nobody who I go, they are offensively bad, which I guess is all I can ask for at the moment.
On the flip side, there hasn't really been anyone I've massively attached myself to yet. I did say a certain recruiter and law assistant from last season.
Lawyer.
Oh right, she is a lawyer. Crap, I forgot.
Yeah, she passed the bar in 2 states.
Oh, yay!
Do not do Queen Brooke a disservice.
I don't do previews. I don't remember people's jobs.
It's much easier to remember people's jobs this season, since each team, everyone has the exact same job, and that's all they talk about and constantly reference.
With the exception of maybe April and Sarah now, where we're not even sure if they have the same job anymore. Whether they're working together anymore, or whether it's just sort of we're being civil, but we hate each other's guts.
They say that they semi-get along now. I think that's what April responded to in the last podcast to us.
I think there's still a little bit of tension there.
Women hold grudges.
So do men.
Not as much as women.
True, never ever cross a woman.
I'm not sure if this is making another podcast or not, but I'd say my best guess is that their, quote, civility, unquote, is akin to when, whenever on RuPaul's Drag Race reality reunion shows and of that kind, people so are you still fighting? No. And they're oh no, we've learned a lot from each other and we're friends now. That painful forced smile follows.
There's an undercurrent of tension between them, which is quite hilarious for us to watch.
An undercurrent of tension. It's like calling an ancient mummy's curse a head cold.
Our bloody Australian flu at the moment. Sweeping the world. Infecting everyone like Australia.
2 listeners
Why
of
is
this
it an Australian flu?
I think it's a particular strain that began in Australia, but yeah, it's known as Australian flu, especially over here at the moment.
Really?
Yeah, I'm 99% sure I have it at the moment.
Yeah, it's flu that gives you the compulsion to eat meat pies and drink Fosters and wear hats with corks on them and, other fun Australian stereotypes.
Excuse you, I haven't done any of that. Hold on, I gotta catch my boomerang. I threw it away a bit ago.
2 listeners of this podcast attended the Amazing Race viewing in San Francisco with some of the teams this past week.
Yeah, it was Dale and Maria, wasn't it?
And Mark Peters was there too.
Oh, was he? I didn't know that.
Yep, he took pictures with a bunch of the teams because it was Chris and Trevor, just Sarah of Goat Yoga, Alex and Connor, and Christy and Jen were the teams that hosted it.
Was Peach there or not?
I didn't see her any of the... Well, I mean, she never posts pictures of herself online from any of the fan events, and I never thought to ask, so I don't think she would have been.
Because she posted something... I think Dale got the invite because of her.
Yes, I saw that.
She was probably there then.
Yeah, that's my suspicion.
No Mertz, anyway.
Mertz wouldn't get invited to any party, I don't think. So previously, 9 teams raced from Iceland to Antwerp. At the roadblock, Joey's lack of cardio caught up with him, while Cedric and Shawn rebounded from a poor initial showing in Leg 1. At the first American double battle, it all came down to April and Sarah and Eric and Daniel in a battle to last, but it was Goat Yoga enthusiasts April and Sarah who were the second team eliminated from the race. So, teams must now fly to Tangiers in Morocco and find the fish port, and once there, they have to stack rows of fish to the exacting standards of the fishermen to get their next clue. And all the teams are pretty close together, to be fair, that we see. There's 5 teams who we see departure times for, but there's not a lot of point saying them because they didn't give us every one of them.
There was a huge amount of time between, first and second, wasn't there? It was like
7 minutes.
It was like 45 minutes.
I have 7 minutes.
It was 7. It was 6:51 and 6:58, respectively.
I thought it was 6:15.
No, it's 6:51.
Oh.
You got the one under 5 round the wrong way.
In fact, the top 6 were all within an hour and 4 of each other.
It isn't that much, compared to other seasons which have had everyone check in 5 seconds.
Yeah, the one we wanted to see was when Henry and Evan were departing compared to Joey and Tim, because whether it was an hour or 3 hours, I think it was an hour from what I've heard since the podcast last week, but...
Yeah, because April and Sarah waited 3 hours for Eric and Daniel.
Yeah, and I think Henry and Evan only waited 1 hour for April and Sarah.
Oh, you're so glad Eric and Daniel are still in the race.
They're just a bit too...
Over the top?
I was going to say normal, because people have been complaining that there aren't enough normal teams on Amazing Race anymore, and if you ask for normal teams, this is what you get, a team who are not camera hogs at all and have zero airtime for a very good reason, and just tell dad jokes all the time.
I mean, they've got more airtime. They've got more airtime than Trevor and Chris,
which is a goddamn travesty.
Meh. I mean, I think I mentioned this last week, but there's this weird novelty in this entire season being advertised as the most competitive season ever, with all these amazing people outstanding in their fields, they're shopping the lady with the bags in Iceland. I'll wait for you to get that. And then you get these 2 random twin EMT / firemen. That's quaint, but that's better on paper because they're boring, and also they outlasted Goat Yoga. So, hello.
We thought there was going to be more. I should point out that it's not really the most competitive season ever since, well, for many reasons, but one of them
since nobody's fallen out of a tuk-tuk and broken their neck like Henry and Bernie?
Yes. Toughest race ever. Eric was on Justin and Diana's podcast, Racers Recap, and he was saying that when teams entered a new airport, that they all waited for each other to get off the plane and started running right at the exit for the airport. So, most competitive season ever.
They've done that before, though. I've read that they've done that before.
They definitely did that for the premiere of 28.
Yeah, even Corey, because Corey was saying too that they did it sometimes during season 28, but they didn't really hold to it that often. Most teams really didn't. Sounds like this is the first cast that has completely held to the everyone start at the same time in the airport rule without it being forced by production.
Really? God, I wouldn't be doing that. I'm sorry, loves. I'd be running.
As we well know from Australian Survivor, Michelle, you will do anything to win.
I'm a little competitive.
Just as a little spoiler for you guys about the Hunted podcast, we do discuss what would happen if Michelle's husband got an Australian survivor. And whether she reckons he would actually do anything well. The answer is no.
Negative. No.
Maybe keep that one away from Tom.
Oh, yeah, it's okay. He doesn't know my other life that I have in podcasting.
You just disappear for hours on end, talking to strange men on the internet.
Strange men, yes. Anyway.
To strange men over the internet on Skype.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, dear.
And Cedric and Shawn say the Amazing Race is tough because they've never done any of this stuff before. It's like, that's kind of the point of the Amazing Race if you've ever seen the show before.
I could have a heart attack in every country.
Oh, God, I'm scared for him now that I know that.
He's the closest racer to having a heart attack since Mel White.
Yes. Oh, it's coming up again. That was all over the internet last night.
Logan's favourite reference point.
Don't we all love him referencing the Amazing Race 14?
That's rude. And Alex and Connor say that they won't rush. They've been losing ground all season because they've not been dawdling enough. It's a curse.
I'm surprised that 2 of the teams know Arabic. That's really good.
I'm not surprised that Henry and Evan do. If you had to put money on any team knowing or having a member who knows Arabic, you'd probably put it on Henry and Evan. Given that they're the sort of people you'd go, yeah, they're going to know a bit of foreign languages.
I mean, they did go to Yale.
It leads back to them being super prepared for the race, because I would put money on them knowing a lot of common languages or phrases in a lot of common languages just to be able to get by in taxis. And people are a lot more likely to help you if you are willing to put the effort in to speak languages. It's one very easy way to endear yourself to locals.
Scream righto or lefto at them?
Rather than speaking Spanish in an Arabic country, not mentioning any names, Brittany, the way to endear people to you is to try and find some common ground with them, and speaking their language, or at least attempting to speak their language, is a great way to do it.
Isn't French more common throughout Morocco than Arabic, or at least in certain areas? Because that's what my coworkers found when they went to Morocco, because they studied a bunch of Arabic before going, and they also, and then they thought, well, we're going right across from Malaga, so probably Spanish too. And then all the locals said, actually, can you speak in French, please? S'il vous plaît.
I think French is the official language of Morocco, but people do also learn Arabic. I'm not 100% on that, but I think it is the official language. And Arabic's just the second language. In the same way that French is the second language of Canada. And I finally worked out how to tell Eric and Daniel apart, because Daniel has a shaved head. It makes my life so much easier when I know how to tell twin teams apart. I'm going to suggest to Bertram now that they insist that any twin teams that they cast in future,
Not be identical?
Yeah, don't be identical, or at least make them wear signs around their neck saying their name for the first few couple of episodes.
Or have one just wear a huge-ass wig on their head, like an afro, and then the other one is bald.
Give us some easy way to tell these people apart, because Eric and Daniel especially are really hard to tell apart.
I guess not every team can have a blonde streak in their hair and a nose ring, like Natalie and Nadia.
Exactly. Natalie and Nadia at least made it easy for us with the different hair and the nose ring and stuff like that. Whereas Eric and Daniel obviously they can't do anything with their hair, but God, it's hard to tell them apart.
Eric, did you just get a perm?
What they should do is get a Sharpie and just draw a smiley face on the top of Daniel's bald head. That would make life so much easier. Or just badly draw him some hair. That would be very entertaining.
Contour on a beard with a Sharpie.
And Christy and Jen are very aware of being the final all-female team standing, which is a pretty damning indictment of the all-female teams that 2 of the 3 of them went out first.
And the one female team that's left is these 2 race spots that seem to be an amalgamation of every alternative athletic female team that have ever been on the race. At least Natalie and Megan had moments of fighting in 1 or 2 episodes, whereas these 2 just seem to be their entire thing is blandly recounting the task objectives, or explaining how they're going to do the task objectives, or talking about how they've lost their way or whatever. And never ever amounting to anything interesting ever.
That's why I said they were proto Natalie and Megan, because Natalie and Megan evolved from the the pod that Christy and Jen grew up in and actually gained some personality.
I should note, I feel that there one major similarity between them is that both of these all-female teams not only won the first leg, but also vomited in the first leg. So, yeah.
And maybe they will continue the theme by having a snowboard task that they completely bugger up and finishing in second.
My bindings came off!
And I know Ben wants to talk about it, so I'll just mention it. The intro seems to be permanently post-fight now.
Which I don't mind, actually.
Ben loves to discuss an intro.
Because, it's all I talk about. Like, when I'm, waiting to podcast throughout the week, I'm just like, I can't wait to talk about the fucking intro. Did you see they put it after the flight departed?
At least there's less social media outrage at them messing with the intro again. Phil still hasn't returned, so he's obviously not put his foot down enough yet, but at least there's less outrage of them doing it then.
Yeah, at least it's actually here, unlike certain other shows which have gotten rid of the intro entirely.
I think Hammerot's has got rid of the intro pretty much entirely, from what I've heard.
Well, at least it's still here on our intro. Yeah,
but given it's the best Amazing Race theme, they should be promoting it. They should promote it as much as Gemma Collins wants to promote the dictionary. I'm a big fan of the dictionary. Actual interview. And talking of people vomiting, Cedric ends up heaving over some fish.
Now, I wonder whether the judges of the challenge actually have penalised him for getting vomit over the fish. All I seem to take into account was what position they were in.
They never penalised Dawn and Mary Jean for doing something similar.
I mean, to be fair, it wasn't a detailed-based task back then.
That's true.
And the teams do get swarmed by cats, just like a party at Hayley's house.
Lots of cats.
Love you really, Hayley. And Christy and Jen's taxi does end up being absolutely terrible, and in fact, I think it was Jen posted on social media yesterday just a map of how far away they were dropped off, and it was at least a mile away.
This sounds like it'd be exciting, but it's not.
And once teams sort their fish, they must now find the Kizarate Jabal Souk and greet a merchant in Arabic to get the next clue, as well as the gnome that will be accompanying them for the rest of the leg.
Accompanied, abandoned on the side of the street.
In the same way that Bergen and Kurt broke the Ford sponsorship, I'm hoping no one's going to be breaking the Travelocity sponsorship here by, dumping the gnome twice.
Well, how long was the Ford sponsorship for?
Season 18 ended with 26.
Yeah, I think it was season 18 to 26.
Well, that's not ages then. Travelocity's been there since season 6 or season 7.
Very true. I think Travelocity will get over it, but I would be insulted if I were the gnome.
Yeah, Travelocity will collapse before it leaves the show. Especially since they pimp their app so many times in the show as well.
And we get some more passive-aggressive sniping from Alex and Connor, so at least they're taking over the Goat Yoga mantle. And Joey and Tim do find the right place, but they miss the gnome, and end up having more navigational fails, which seems to be a running theme for them now. And once teams do get to the souk, it's the roadblock, which is who's ready to rock the Casbah?
Sorry, does everyone in the world know that song?
I think
so.
so.
Logan? You know it?
I know the Clash. I was hoping they'd be the pit stop greeters. They always, whenever the word Casbah or anything Moroccan comes into play, everyone always wants to bring up the Clash.
I know these are words you're saying, but I don't know what they mean.
God.
I'm vaguely familiar that was a song, but I don't think I've ever heard it. And also, I
You
have no
haven't
idea.
It's been in The Simpsons, Ben.
Was it before season 10?
Yes.
Do you know the name of the episode?
Oh, damn it.
You guys are insane.
Fake fan.
Stop it.
But yeah, it's
Damn
not
it, I don't know the exact episode. It plays in the closing credits of one of the episodes.
Yeah, it's not a gay anthem, so it doesn't take place in my mind, so...
And do you call yourselves a Simpsons historian, Logan?
I've never called myself a Simpsons historian. I've organized no such podcast.
You might criticise yourself, but we criticise you more. You've disappointed us. So in this roadblock, one team member must join their gnome on a tour of the rooftops of the area around the souk. The gnome will go down 2 zip lines, they have to then find them, and then they have to find a payphone to find out the greeting that they need to give a shopkeeper to get their next clue.
I really like this task.
This is a pretty good task.
It was really fun because it had the vague allusion to the Bourne Identity because there was a lot of rooftop jumping on the Bourne Identity.
It was like the first few minutes of the Aladdin film.
I like how that's where your pop culture reference pool goes.
Ben goes for Bourne films, Logan goes for Aladdin. I don't even need to say anything.
In my non-defense, that was actually mentioned in the episode.
Yeah, I know.
Wasn't Jason Bourne, not Bond.
And it is Henry, Trevor, Eric, Jen, Brittany, Cedric, Connor, and Tim doing this roadblock.
Can I tell you, I'd be so lost. I wouldn't know how to get to the next place. I'd have to go with another team, or else I would just be out. It was just distressing me watching them trying to figure out how to get there.
It seemed like the more people you were with, the longer it took to get to places, because like Cedric did it by himself, and he like seemed to actually like know what he was doing. He was just exhausted by the fact he was carrying his backpack with him.
Why was he carrying his backpack with him? Because it was the first thing that I had written down about this roadblock. Why on earth are you bringing your bag anywhere?
I mean, he did pretty impressive for someone who was carrying his backpack with him, and he was like in first for like most of the thing until he got overtaken a bit.
And also someone of his age. Don't forget his age.
Almost 50.
Oh, for
Almost 50.
God's sake. Yeah, join the club. Seriously.
Aren't you only like 30?
Yeah, I'm 30.
Michelle, as I've mentioned before, you don't look your age. I was
Yes.
gobsmacked when I found out how old you are.
Wait, how old are you?
I'm 48.
Jesus Christ, no you're not.
I am. But I don't act it at all.
I've also met you in person and you don't look at it either.
Thanks. I put on some very big spack filler for you.
And yeah, Cedric just talks about how old he is and how he's had 50 heart attacks and he's basically dead man walking.
I think you're at a 0 there.
I'll give him the heart attack thing because that's really bad. But his age, no, sorry, not listening to you at all.
Can I just point out, everyone on a race would have had to be medically cleared.
Yeah, exactly.
If they thought there was an issue with him having a heart attack on the race, they would not have let him go on the race.
Mm.
So, we've said it before and we'll say it again. Don't use your age as an excuse. Ever.
Am I the only one that's amazed that the person who has had heart attacks in this whole cast is not either of the professional hot dog eaters?
Well, they wouldn't be very professional if they collapsed on the job.
Maybe in the broccoli eating contest they'll collapse.
And again, with the Simpsons reference.
And yeah, it's Henry and Evan who leave in first, with Christy and Jen in second, and Alex O'Connor in third.
But wait, there's been subterfuge.
Yes, Brittany forgot her gnome at the last element of the roadblock.
Because she gave it to Nick and then Nick put it down.
Yes, and she cheated. That was cheating.
That's
Oh my god, I am so outraged by this, by gently putting down Brittany's gnome. I don't know what the Instagram models are doing on the season, but man, what a twist.
I got it.
And once teams do complete the roadblock, it's the detour, which is drop it off or shake it off. And in drop it off, teams must make 3 deliveries by carrying crates along the floor. Once they have 3 stamp receipts, these stamps will spell out the next pit stop.
And in Shake It Off, teams must perform a subpar Taylor Swift video.
And in Shake It Off, if this were Haverots, they would be dressing as Taylor Swift to do this task for some reason. But in Shake It Off, teams must belly dance around a restaurant and find 3 hidden words which spell out the next pit stop location. And I kind of like the direction that they're going in with this sort of detour, where you actually have to spell out the next location rather than just get given it.
In the points against the Shake It Off detour is that, like, they didn't have to get it in any particular order, they just had to get the words. Whereas, like, there could have been an opportunity for, like, you know, an actual mix-up and a shake-up if they like, been forced to do the whole getting in right order, because, like, it was something, palace something that one of them said, and if that had been rejected, they might have, like, gone out and looked for more words.
But then again, I think it was the same rule with the drop-it-off detour, because they didn't get the words in the right order.
Probably should have, though.
Yeah, but they didn't, because I was watching out for that, because I thought the exact same thing.
I guess we can't be too picky. The budget for the show is a tenth of what it used to be.
And Eric and Daniel do leave in 4th, with Trevor and Chris in 5th. And then Cedric walks past the correct place, and he starts losing it.
Do you think Shawn didn't call out loud enough to him because he feared another penalty?
I think that might have been weighing on his mind, because we did actually have a question from Mark Doyle about, can we explain the difference between calling out someone's name and actually helping them on a roadblock? And the difference is that Tim did shout to Joey saying, here, that isn't helping him at all, because that's not saying turn right or whatever, or sticking his head out of the souk and going, hiya! That is sort of guiding him in the right direction rather than actually actively helping him.
Yeah, when he sees him, he could just, like, start spontaneously screaming and have the same effect.
When he started out spontaneously, I was like, I was wondering what you were going to end up with. I was like, spontaneously combusting?
Yes. Oh man, my partner just exploded. It's gotta be here.
Dude, there's some more meat for me to eat in 10 minutes.
Yes. We gotta have this soup cleaned up, Joey.
I mean, if he like runs fast enough, he'll still like, land on the mat with his partner. As long as he doesn't go to the bathroom first.
Ah, cannibals. We haven't discussed anything this dark since Hunted US. Good times. And there's not really a lot to say about these detours apart from the fact that Alex's dance moves are amazing.
Yeah, it's very much.
And why wouldn't you do that one? Because the other one's too hard. Just crazy.
Yeah, a lot of the like the entertainment of the episodes seem to be like contained in the subterfuge like roadblock rather than the detour, because the detour is very much do these tasks, do them quickly.
Did you guys get the name of the special cafe that was on one of the grabs of someone doing something? There was a cafe with a special name. Did anyone get it?
Colin? Was that the Colin Cafe?
Cafe Colin. Like, great.
Which sounds like Joey and Tim's future. Sounds like Joey and Tim's future place to be.
Yeah, Ant said he would be very disappointed in me if we didn't make that the banner this week, but I don't think it will be. I think there was too many good facial expressions from certain people for that to get the banner, sadly.
Was it Tim that just refused to participate in this detour at all?
Yeah, Joey was enthusiastically dancing and completely ignoring the actual purpose of the task, and Tim was just walking. So I'm wondering where the line was with production where they might have turned around to him and gone, no, you actually have to, belly dance. That's kind of the point of the task.
Well, they didn't have to dance.
Yeah, but Tim really was not dancing.
Mm.
So yeah, it's Henry and Evan who leave Shake It Off in first, with Alex and Connor in second. And Alex and Connor do forget their gnome at the detour, which basically gives Henry and Evan a bit of an advantage. Yay! I like that team winning.
Yeah, that was good.
Evan really took it a step above Dustin and Candace, where Dustin and Candace bragged that, I think was Dustin that bragged about writing a paper about Morocco, while Evan actually studied in Morocco. 20 seasons later, it was about time. Can we talk about the gnome for a second? This is the second season out of the past 4 where the gnome gets to do something cooler than the contestants. In season 26, the gnome got to do skydiving, while this season he gets to do ziplining, and none of the contestants get to zipline.
I adore this trope. It is the best. Just really winding people up by saying, guess what? Someone's going to be ziplining, and it ain't going to be you. Merry Christmas!
It's going to be this gnome that we dressed up in a funny way.
But yeah, I had flashbacks to the Namibia leg as well.
I can't remember which task was the one where they had to where the gnome skydived. Which one was that?
Season 26 Namibia leg.
Oh, I thought you were talking about last season. I was like, wait, I don't remember this.
Yeah, where it was a great example of who's ready to skydive, and then the actual task was, follow the gnome, which is going to parachute out of a plane for you.
It's a lot less insurance.
It's just a really great Amazing Race dick moment.
It's like when it started 23 when like the person who did the roadblock was like, find your partner who got the skydive or paraglide or whatever, and then completely screwed everyone up on the next roadblock because like they forgot that they didn't do the roadblock, so they had to do the next roadblock, and then like everyone got screwed up because of it.
And then Naina was forced into a forced marriage by the end of the episode.
Poor Naina. There's a very real possibility that you're going to be blogging about that season this year, can I point out?
If I keep up this pace, there's a chance.
You're still to Australia too.
Yeah, you get the treat of Australia too before you punish yourself even further by doing 21 and 22 and 23 and 24.
I think Canada 1 is in there as well somewhere.
Yeah, Canada 1's after 22, but it's only 10 episodes.
10 episodes of Vanessa and Selena.
Canada 1 is less of a punishment than slogging through 20 to 24.
Or Australia 3.
Australia 3 wasn't that bad, it just wasn't as good as Australia 2 was.
I liked 21, and I liked Australia 3.
Australia 3 was pretty bad. It wasn't the worst one that year because it was on the same year as, 24.
It wasn't the worst one we've podcasted about, by a long shot.
We talked a lot about going to the toilet in that one, didn't we? Because he was always off doing wheeze everywhere.
Oh, that's true.
But on the plus side, Australia 3 did give us Kat and Jessie, who are awesome. It could be a lot worse. So, yeah, Henry and Evan do check in first, and they win eventually when everyone else checks in. We find out that they win a trip to Zurich. And what else did they get, Michelle?
Some massages in a spa.
You can just tell from Michelle's giddy laughter that she knows exactly what I'm referring to.
Oh, I saw it and I wrote it down with the exclamation mark.
Yeah, but he didn't just say spa. He said massage and spa.
I know, he said both. You know what I need? I need that to be like my wake-up ringtone in the mornings. Just him saying spa on repeat. Can you do that for me, Michael?
He was properly having it up.
Make it text tone.
I need it.
And yeah, that means that Alex and Connor do check in second, and Phil tries to hammer home the theme of the season when he says, "Does this remind you of IndyCar?"
Isn't this competitive?
Yeah, they should just turn around and go, "No, Phil, this is nothing like IndyCar at all."
So, Christy and Jen, not very good at miming fish.
Not very good at being entertaining characters either.
I would take them over Eric and Daniel's gnome and fruit puns.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's a low bar. And we have, we live in a post-29 world. We should have higher expectations.
They're not very interesting, but they're great at it. They're good at the race.
They're great at not being interesting. They're great at not being interesting.
No, I meant they're great at the race, but they're not very interesting. She reminds me of someone. The one with the...
Which one? The blonde
The
one?
one with the... No, the one with the different face, yes.
The one with the different face. That's a nice way to describe it.
No, it's very individual kind of face.
Oh, Michelle, you're so sad.
How was that?
You know what I'm talking about.
Is this how you talk in the staff room about some of the children
No.
that you teach? Yeah, that one, that's the one with the different face. The one who has unique features.
And a wonderful personality.
What makes it
Okay.
even funnier, Michelle, is that you. What makes it funnier, Michelle, is that you say, "She reminds me of somebody. She's the one with the different face." Completely contradictory.
Okay, look. If you had a whole line of people in a lineup, she's quite unique in that. You know what I'm saying? She's unique.
You know, for your next Christmas card, I'm going to send you a shovel with it, so you can keep digging.
I'm not saying she's unattractive. I don't know why you guys are going down that train, but
You're the one who said she has a different face. That's kind of a euphemism for ugly.
no, that's not what I meant. No, I meant she's like unique. She's different. You can, if you've got a whole crowd of women, you're going to remember her because she's more unique than a whole lot of run-of-the-mill women. You know what
Michelle, with the greatest love, you're not helping your case at all.
And the only way your case would be worse right now is if you named your friend.
No, it's not my friend. It's someone who's like a TV star. But
Oh, name them then.
I'm saying that even myself in a whole group of women, I'm not unique to remember, like in a whole group. I'm just saying I like looking at her face because she's different.
Name and shame the person who has, and I quote, unique features.
I can't think of who it is.
Is she Australian?
No.
How about you describe her, Michelle? If she's got unique features, it'll be really easy to work out who it is.
They look very similar. Very similar. I don't know why I brought it up. Why did I even bring this up?
I don't know, Michelle, but you do this when you're tired, and this is why we do the podcast at this time, because I catch you in a mood where you really have zero filter, and it's wonderful.
Oh, jeez. Sorry.
The best thing is, I sort of left to go say goodnight to my mum and dad. The first thing I heard when I came back was, yeah, you know the one with the really unique face?
Oh, dear. Stop.
I want to bring up something about Alex and Connor. Connor said that because him and Alex are fit, that he's breaking the stereotype of IndyCar racers. I had no idea that there is a stereotype that IndyCar racers are not physically fit.
I mean, thanks to Suave Caramel, there's a stereotype that IndyCar races are boring, but apart from that, I can't think of anything.
Or vanilla.
Like, all I can think of is, like, stereotypes around IndyCar races. They're rednecks. They have a single-digit amount of teeth. They have unique features.
Unlike most of their archetype, we actually quite like Alex and Connor, though. That's the difference.
I think they're alright. Like, I like them more than I did last week, but I wouldn't say like. They're not my least favourite, but then, like, I like them more than Christy and Jen. I like them more than Eric and Daniel and Joey and Tim. Joey and Tim, yeah, that's the one. I keep on calling him Jody or something, and I was like, that's not right. If only there was someone named Jody in this season.
I would say that they're one of my 3 favourite teams of the season. They're below Henry and Evan and Lucas and Brittany, obviously, but they're probably my 3rd.
They're above April and Sarah, really?
No, I mean in terms of teams who are still in. They're definitely below April and Sarah, who are obviously going to be the number 1 for the season, regardless of anything else that happens.
I mean, honestly, I can't really disagree with that.
Given that my CTS lower 3rd was Goat Yoga Enthusiast, I think still is, actually.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be giving up my love of April and Sarah just yet.
Yeah, I mean, it'll probably depend on how the rest of the season ends up, but, like, the fact that they went from, like, the preseason, like, I knew they were going to go second, but because they're goat yoga enthusiasts, I expected them to be, like, you know, these, like, genial sort of mum types who all, like, gave their best shot but just didn't make it far enough. And instead, they're, like, hyper-aggressive, sniping, like, passive-aggressive hell demons who, like, you know, who have one of the most entertaining post-show, like, post-scripts that I've ever seen.
Yeah, they were cast to be sort of, oh yeah, we're lovely people, and they end up having basically a Bergen and Kurt ending. And it's just delightful.
Yeah, I really like Brittany and Lucas, and they had a really good start. But if they don't start doing something soon, I'm going to have to, like, you know, just sort of put all my goats in the goat yoga pen.
I mean, we didn't get a particular standout moment from them this week, apart from her falling in love with Moroccans. But we did get the wonderful safe word discussion last week, and her being really sort of passive-aggressive to him in the car in Iceland. We're getting the peppery moments of Lucas and Brittany being an awesome pair.
And she played with the fish that Cedric vomited on this episode.
True. I think Lucas and Brittany are definitely good casting. So yeah, Trevor and Chris checking in 4th, and then Joey
Again!
and Tim. Yeah.
The 3rd time in a row.
And Joey and Tim miss the pit stop. Joey ends up making Tim take his bag because of his terrible cardio. This isn't becoming a recurring theme or anything.
They walked into the pit stop and then walked out. Did they take up golfing recently or something?
And Joey and Tim check in next, and then Eric and Daniel.
Can't see Joey and Tim lasting much longer.
We're certainly getting the impression that they are an absolute mess.
Yeah, I'm putting like 8th place for them at best.
Yeah, they're really just not a very good team.
They can't move fast and they suck at navigating. That's not a very good combination on The Amazing Race.
I could be, like, receptive to them if, like, that aspect is played up more. But as it is, it's just a lot more food puns and talking about how they're competitive eaters than I like. Because it's like, we get it, you are cast because you're competitive eaters. Play us another song, please.
But then again, they're probably being nudged by production to say all that stuff. It certainly isn't all them.
Yes, but you can ignore production. Like, they gave you a hot dog at the starting line. You can ignore them. They like you.
Yeah, if you ignore production, they just under-edit you, though. And Eric and Daniel check in next, and then Lucas and Brittany, which means that Cedric and Shawn are the last team to check in, but they are saved from elimination by an Episode 3 non-elim.
I was about to say by a heart attack. Oh shit, Cedric had a heart attack. We can't eliminate him now.
If Cedric wins this season, I'm really scared because if anything's going to give you a heart attack, it's winning $1 million at the end of 20 days of filming The Amazing Race.
And raising your profile to the level that it would be of the star turn that is Amazing Race winner. I mean, it just improves so many people's careers.
You know they're former NBA players, right? I'm pretty sure they make like $1 million easily in royalties from that thing alone, from their career alone.
They waste money fast.
And also, I'm fully aware of that, Ben, and in the bios, we ripped them a new one because they did actually say, oh yeah, we're doing this to raise our profile. They basically said we're doing Amazing Race to become famous.
I find that funny.
Yeah, the answer to that is 30 seasons in, you've come to the wrong show for that, I'm afraid.
I can think of like one person off the top of my head who's actually become famous for the Amazing. 2 people, like, and one of them's not really like that famous. It's like Blake from season 2 and Stacey Schroeder, who's now a main cast member on Vanderpump Rules.
I mean, if you use the example of someone like Brooke, she has used it to
date Blair.
Well, to obviously date Blair, which is a perfect pairing, and they are adorable on social media. As I have told Brooke, they are adorable together. But also, she's used it to like get a regular gig on local access news, talking about legal issues.
That's good, though.
Yeah, and she wasn't just offered that because of Amazing Race, but it was helpful to her cause, in that it put her in touch with the people who could make it happen.
I'm trying to think of like if there's anyone else who's like said like, explicitly that their log line for the Amazing Race scene to be to raise their profile.
I don't think there is. So yeah, Cedric and Shawn do checking in last. There's lots of basketball puns. they get a speed bump next week. Yay.
Which will be rendered completely irrelevant when there's another head-to-head.
Yeah, but in the show's defense, I know from the press pictures, I know what the speed bump's going to be, and it's not the worst one they've ever done.
What is it?
No ice chairs, no knots?
No, it's before the roadblock, they have to stack 12 of the boats that they use for the roadblock in numerical order. So it's actually reasonably physically demanding.
Okay.
Certainly not the worst speed bump we've ever seen.
The head-to-head, though.
And it's competitive per tonk.
Pretty much bocce ball, right?
Yeah, it's pretty much bocce
Yeah.
ball. But it's competitive per tonk, which is hilarious.
In its defense, it still looks more interesting than anything on Amazing Race Canada.
But it is the sort of thing that I would jokingly say Amazing Race Canada was going to do.
Yeah, but they're gonna find some way to make it ridiculous. Especially if either the NBA players get eliminated because of it, or Joey and Tim get eliminated because of it, or one of the most competitive teams ever get eliminated because of bocce ball. It'll be probably before the pit stop, right?
Yeah, it's right before the pit stop. It's at the pit stop again.
And another very questionable decision.
I'm surprised that the non-elimination was aired during one of the non-double episode weeks.
I was thinking that.
Yeah, so now we lose 2 teams next week.
Yeah, we kind of got to lose 2 teams next week. So yeah, next time, teams head to Saint-Tropez, there's sailing, Joey takes on water, and there's competitive petanque to decide who gets eliminated. So yeah, have we got any predictions for next week?
I think they'll be out next week.
Who's Cedric and Shawn?
Our heart attack waiting to happen.
I predict, for some reason, that Evan will get hit in the teeth by the sailing boat.
My God, I wonder if anything happens to its teeth. That was not good.
Not good.
We need more of Evan trying to dance. Because their dancing from this week was kind of hilarious. It was more of a twitch rather than a dance.
I know I'm on record as loving Henry and Evan, but yeah, I'm starting to see these are going to be quite under the radar fun people.
They're very high visibility teams, so can you really be under the radar?
Yeah, but you know what I mean by that, like subtly funny, still very entertaining. It's sort of a Suki and Jinta situation where they're not necessarily the main focus of the episode, but you see them in the background doing stupid shit. There's always something that's going to be memorable for them. So, what do you think is going to happen, Logan?
I don't think Cedric and Shawn will go home this round. I think Joey and Tim are pretty much done with the race at this point. And then Cedric and Shawn are going to go home, because I think everything's going to catch up with Cedric, because this round seemed to absolutely wear him out.
Yeah, and also it is 2 legs in France. It's Saint-Tropez and then Provence.
4 times in 5 seasons, France.
I like France.
Yeah, I like France as well. It's a relatively safe, not necessarily cheap country for them to go to, but lots of good flight connections, all that sort of fun stuff.
Plus people who think they can speak French but can't.
France is worth it just for moments like Mama D trying to rap in French. Or Elaine and Audrey doing the I said yes!
Elaine and Audrey.
You have to say their name properly. That wasn't properly.
Elaine and Audrey.
Yeah.
So, have we got anything else to say?
There's a clear top tier and a clear bottom tier in terms of who's going to go far this season.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fairly obvious.
Yeah, let's we should probably quantify those tiers.
Let's see. Bottom tier, definitely Joey and Tim, Cedric and Shawn, Eric and Daniel, and I hate to say this, but Lucas and Brittany, since they're consistently finishing towards the bottom. I like how Brittany almost stole a random locals gnome.
Okay, 4 on the top, 4 on the bottom, and 1 is the median.
Well, the problem with doing 1 as the median is the fact that there are 3 teams currently on the same average in spots 3 to 5.
Yeah, but averages don't mean that much, especially there's more about task performance.
And the top tier would be Alex and Connor, Christy and Jen, and yeah, I guess it's a pretty steady top 3. Then I listed 4 teams in the bottom, so leave Chris and Trevor as the median.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
They've placed the exact same place 3 times in a row, which, after 3 occurrences means they might have to get an edit or something, because, that's how Christy and Jen work. They've had 3 female winners, so now they get to talk about how they might be in the next female winner.
We can pretty much just separate it into 2 tiers with Christy and Jen, Henry and Evan, Alex and Connor, and Trevor and Chris in the top tier, and then the bottom 4 in the bottom tier.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't think we've got anything else to say, really.
It was a good episode.
Yeah, it was a good episode. It's the sort of episode that we needed after last week's sort of mess. But compared to Hunted this week, it still wasn't the best episode of TV. So it's hard for me to compare. So thank you for listening to this Your Team Number podcast. You can join us next weekend for our first double episode of the season with episodes 4 and 5. If you've got any questions, feel free to contact us on our Facebook page, Reality TV Warriors, on our Twitter account, RTV Warriors, or our own Twitter pages, MJ Harmstone for me, Log Superkawaki for Logan, Bear3333333 for Michelle, and Ink1Y for Ben. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace out and just chill till the next episode.
What is that? It feels like a punchline for a joke, but it doesn't come.